Have you heard that THC is toxic to dogs? Let's take a closer look. The first thing that you need to know is that anytime that professionals are recommending that you use a cannabis product for your pet, most of the time, except for very specific circumstances, they're going to be recommending you a hemp based tincture. And what that means is that it has really, really low levels of THC. That compound is still present in there, but in the case of hemp, it is below 0.3%, 1/3 of a percent. So it's a really tiny amount. But that tiny amount is really important for the way that this hemp is going to function in your pet's body. Without it, it's not going to be as potent. The next thing you need to know is that without THC, when it is forcibly removed, you end up just diminishing the potential effects of the hemp extract that you're working with. There's this thing called the entourage effect, which refers to the synergistic relationship between CBD, THC, and all the other naturally occurring molecules. And when you try to strip it down, isolate it the way that we would think of kind of like a traditional pharmaceutical drug that is one compound with one effect, you really lose kind of the beauty of this plant medicine, which is a lot of different things interacting with one another, of which THC is a centrally important one, even in those tiny, tiny amounts. For pet parents who are nervous about incorporating a product with THC, I often refer them to this piece of research which was done way back in 1973 that sought to find the lethal dose of THC for dogs. And the results were there is no lethal dose. They gave these animals up to 9,000 milligrams in a single intravenous dose, which is way, way, way more than we would ever recommend as a therapeutic dose. It's more than you could possibly give. For reference, our most potent blend, our heel extracts, this has less than 1 milligram of THC in it. So it's just completely different scales. I think of this often as like that study that they did that found that garlic was toxic to dogs. And then if you look closer at the research that they did, they were giving like the equivalent of like something like 3,000 cloves of garlic 5 times a week. It's the same kind of bad research that leads to just confusing people, but doesn't actually look at the real world context of these kinds of things.